we're going to get started. Hi, Ken. We have the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District representatives here with us, and they're going to explain to us how the program works, and you're going to be able to ask them questions. So Frank Greenland and I have known each other for quite some time now because this program's been involving almost 3-4 years. And Frank is the guy that is in charge of this program.
I'm overseeing the stormwater program.
Oh, good for you. So, and Rochelle? Rachel. Okay, so they're going to give us some information, so I'll just turn it over to you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
And we're happy to be here. I'm Frank Greenland. I am the Director of Watershed Programs for the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and part of my responsibilities are to oversee the implementation of this stormwater management program. Rachel Webb, who will also be presenting today, is a watershed team leader and assigned to Macedonia and some other communities. We have 3 staff members that are dedicated your one-on-one contact between the district and you on stormwater issues. So she's representing Macedonia on your behalf. I want to just cover quickly who the sewer district is, who we are, what we do, and then we're going to focus on the stormwater management program. The district was created by a court order in 1972. The reason it was created was the result of pretty big-time squabbles between suburban communities and the city of Cleveland over sewer-related issues, health-related issues, sewer overflows, basement flooding, service issues. If you remember, or I remember, the Cuyahoga River burned in 1969, so we had some issues back then, water quality-wise. And the district was created in '72 to provide regional service to this area. We serve all our parts of 62 communities. You'll see a map that outlines the service area. We have over 1 million customers that deliver wastewater to one of our 3 treatment plants. And we treat 90+ billion gallons of wastewater annually at those 3 plants. When we were created, the court gave us 4 key responsibilities. First was to operate, maintain, upgrade, meet EPA permit limits for wastewater treatment plants. And we operate 3 treatment plants in our service area. The southerly treatment plant, which is down on East 77th and Canal, receives flow from Macedonia and a whole bunch of other communities. More than 500,000 people deliver wastewater to that plant. The court also gave us responsibility for what's called interceptor sewers. These are the large highways of sewage, sanitary sewage, combined sewage. These large interceptors deliver community flow to our treatment plants. So we're the big pipe folks, regional. This is an important distinction because local communities maintain responsibility for their local combined sanitary and storm sewers. It's a little different in Macedonia, where you have some division. The Summit County Department of Environmental Services owns and operates sanitary sewers in certain portions of Summit County, including Macedonia. Storm sewer maintenance rests on the community. The court also gave us a responsibility for combined sewer overflow control. It's a huge program. Combined sewers mean wastewater and stormwater in one pipe. The oldest sewers in the nation were called combined. As we built out, they were overloaded and they overflowed. So 4.5 billion gallons of untreated wastewater annually hit the rivers in Lake Erie. It's our responsibility to deal with that, to meet EPA mandates. And we signed a consent decree, I think 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago with the federal government. It's a 25-year program at $3 billion to reduce these discharges. So that's a huge ticket on the wastewater side. And today we're going to focus on regional stormwater management. And this was a supplemental judgment entry to our court order. This is a 1975 entry, and basically the judge said that the district as a regional entity was to develop a capital improvement plan to solve what the judge termed intercommunity drainage problems, both storm and sanitary, across the district. And we were created because of intercommunity issues between suburban communities and the city. And when we talk about stormwater management today, you know it. No stream begins and ends in one community. And certainly in our region, you'll see the system of streams in our service area. They begin in one community, and then 2, 3, 4, 10 communities may be contributing flow to these streams. And the problems we're going to talk about manifest themselves wherever they are. But because streams flow between communities, the problem's not a border situation. It's broader than that. Our responsibility is to deal with this problem on a regional basis. So what we want to talk about today, I will briefly cover the program. What elements, what's the program all about? What is this program to accomplish? Rachel's going to talk about the fee and the credits, how we calculate fees and what credits are available to homeowners and other entities, larger properties. And we're going to open it up to questions at the end. First, the service area under the stormwater program and the streams that the district intends to assume some responsibility for in terms of inspecting, operating, maintaining, and improving, building projects to address flooding and erosion. And this graphic in red outlines the service area, those areas that are tributary to the districts within the district service area that fall under the stormwater program. We'll show you a blow-up of Macedonia, but what you also see on this graphic are what looks like streams, and they are streams. The district needed to determine for regional management of stormwater, what are regional streams, what do they look like? We used a 300-acre rule. 300 acres of drainage, draining to a stream, starts the regional system, and then it flows to its terminus, whether it's Lake Erie, the Cuyahoga, Rocky, or Chagrin, or the tributaries. So these blue lines, about 400 miles of primarily open stream segments, fall under the district's program, and it's our job to operate, maintain, and improve these streams. Macedonia is there. Macedonia is there so you can kind of give yourself some perspective. You have flows coming in from upstream, you're sending flows downstream. So it's our job to understand what happens when flows are contributed to the system, what problems are out there. When we look at Macedonia closer, Indian Creek runs through Macedonia, part of the Brandywine drainage network, watershed, And so Indian Creek is a regional stream that the districts under this program, our job is to inspect and maintain and look at the problems that we know exist along Indian Creek, flooding and or erosion, and develop solutions that address those problems and don't transfer those problems to your neighbor. Also our job to look upstream for you, to understand those flows coming in. So this gives you a perspective of those regional streams. Those are the larger streams in Macedonia, shown in blue. Another depiction of the stormwater service area, we do touch northern Summit County. I think you're all aware there was a court case. Certain communities in Summit County are not in the stormwater program. Macedonia and some other communities are in the stormwater program. This just gives you an idea of who's in the program. Not all of Cuyahoga County, not all of Summit County are in the program, but still this is a very large service area, about 350 square miles. So we've got good coverage and we can make good things happen as a result. This is that same service area when you look at it from an impervious surface basis. And the charge is based on impervious surface area. And when you look at the pavement in this area, this is what you see. And so the dynamic has changed. We've changed, and this is not just a Cleveland, greater Cleveland area phenomenon. This is a national phenomenon. And so what you've seen is we've replaced grassed areas, treed areas, forested areas with pavement. So you change the equation. Instead of rainfall hitting the ground, percolating, it hits pavement, it runs off faster to the streams and in greater quantities. And when it runs off faster and in greater quantities, you change the stream. So erosion and flooding are a result of this phenomenon. So when we talk about stormwater problems that we want to address, need to address under this program, here's a good example. This plays itself out across our service area. We're just showing, this is Sheldon Road. This is in the Abram Creek watershed. That's actually Abram Creek. After a rainfall event, it happens to be closing Sheldon Road. This is at the border of Brook Park and Middleburg Heights. This is truly an intercommunity issue. There are multiple communities contributing flow. We happen to be at the border. So this is definitely a problem that's on our radar screen to determine why is this happening and what are the best solutions to deal with this situation. So flooding is an issue. Erosion is a big issue. Because of greater quantities, faster rates, more volume, streams are eroding. All streams will erode. They meander and they erode. It's a natural phenomenon. What's unnatural is the rate at which they're eroding because of the increased volumes and rates of stormwater. So this is Mill Creek, Warner Road in Garfield Heights. Kind of the downstream area of Mill Creek. There's 6, 7 communities upstream of that point that are all pouring flow into Mill Creek. Now under our program, this isn't a Garfield Heights fix. They didn't totally cause this problem. It's a broader regional problem, so it's our job to deal with this. Another project that's on our radar screen. So erosion is a big issue. This is what we are not going to be doing, but this is what you see out there today. You walk the streams. This is a homeowner or a property owner's method of addressing erosion on their property, and those are washers and dryers that have been stacked up along Stickney Creek. This is in Brook Park, Cleveland area, to curb erosion. Now, if you look behind the washers and dryers, there's erosion. And you get a big rain, it's going to lift a washer or a dryer and stick it in a round hole. Now you've got a problem. That washer dryer hits the culvert, you've got issues. So we have to do a whole lot better than this in terms of our fixes. So under the program, what are some of the key elements of the program and what will we do? I'm going to kind of bounce around. We're going to inspect and maintain streams. We've got to get routine inspection on some of these larger streams. Look at those culverts, make sure they're free and clear of debris so we can mitigate flooding damages when the big storm occurs. We're going to construct projects, and we'll talk a little bit about that. There's a lot of issues out there. You know there are issues here. There's issues across all of our watersheds, and many of them are long-standing problems. We've got to address these problems. So part of our program is to design and construct improvements to alleviate long-standing problems and also develop tools to be smarter about the decisions we make going forward so we prevent future problems from occurring. We're going to be doing master plans across our region, including Macedonia, Brandywine Creek, Indian Creek. And these will be very comprehensive, and they're not going to be boxed in by borders. We're going to look on a watershed basis. The whole program is about encouraging good practices. And we're a highly urbanized area, so in some areas, you know, we're not going to revert back to nature. But where we can get infiltration practices going, we want to encourage a lot of good practices because the best stormwater management is right at the source. So some examples, inspection. This is Route 8, I-271 area. This is what you see. If we don't get in and inspect and start clearing things like this, you know, the culvert's 20% blocked. The next rain is 30% blocked. And maybe a really big rain, and now it's blocked. And if you don't inspect it, move that stuff out, get rid of that debris, the next rain can cause a pretty big flood. And so you're not going to solve all flooding all the time, but you want to mitigate your damages to the best extent practical. So our job is to look for this kind of stuff and get it out. We're going to do projects. Now, we've got a lot of information. We've met with the mayor and his staff numerous times for many years. We've met with the Stormwater Committee previously. We're aware of a lot of problems in the Macedonia area. So we've got a list. Now, one thing that we've recently looked at that we kind of want to move early on, because we've got a sanitary sewer crossing Indian Creek. This is near Ledge Road. Now, this is a Summit DOES sewer. But you've got an exposed sanitary. And you get something, you have the distinct possibility of losing a sanitary sewer in a stream. Now, that will not be a good situation from a water quality front or a service front, for that matter. So one of the things we want to do early on is take a look at this and stabilize it. I don't know what the exact fix is, but we intend, the current schedule is sometime in 2013 to initiate a design phase, and into 2014 begin some type of construction. We've got to find a way to stabilize this stream in this area so that we don't lose the sanitary sewer. And we've had some discussions with some at DOES about this location, and we'll have to have more. So this just gives you a snapshot of construction. There's a lot of other issues that we're aware of in the Brandywine Creek watershed, and we'll take a harder look at that in our master planning process. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal, I think, for this region. To develop and to invest the dollars that are necessary to really understand why are these problems occurring, and what are the sources, and what are the best locations for solutions. So we will be initiating master plans. Our current thought is in 2014, we're going to run master planning studies in what we call our Cuyahoga North and South watershed areas. These are really the Cuyahoga from Cleveland out this way, including your area. So we will initiate these studies in 2014. These are very detailed analyses. We talked to the USGS today about installing stream gauges to prepare ourselves for the study. We want to gauge Indian Creek and other tributaries in the Cuyahoga watershed so we know what the stream does during different rainfall events. We'll use computer simulation to simulate during different types of storm. How high does the water get? Where are the areas of inundation? And then we'll use those models to evaluate alternatives to correct erosion and flood. So this, we hope, will be underway in 2014. We have watershed advisory groups that we're forming to keep community officials to provide input. You've been asked for a representative on the Watershed Advisory Committee for Indian Creek, and we're going to get all stakeholders involved so we all understand how this process rolls as the master plan rolls. These are going to be big ticket items, but they're vitally important for this region. They're not going to happen overnight. They're going to take a couple years. But at the end of these master planning studies, we've got a much better regional perspective on where should we be building projects and what's the priority for implementation. Should I take questions? I'll take any questions. That's the quick snapshot of what this program is about. We've got a lot of projects. We're going to be coming out in the middle of this year. We're going to start walking all these streams, 400 miles of stream. We've got an inspection and inventory project that's going to start in the middle part of this year. We'll be out walking here, there, and everywhere to go look for problems that we can give to our maintenance crews to deal with, or it's a problem that we're going to have to analyze in the master plan, or it's a problem that's so important we need to deal with it now. So that's another big project. That's going to start. And our maintenance contracts, we expect to award those contracts. We're ready to go, start pulling stuff out. So there's a lot of activity going to occur over the first couple of years. Any questions about the program?
If you're going to walk the neighborhoods, how are we going to know who we are?
Okay, we know we need rights of entry. For inspection purposes, for inspection purposes, the district typically will have identification of who they are and why they're out there. We will be notifying community officials of those types of activities on the inspection front. We've had inspectors looking at streams and water quality issues for years. Now, when we get into maintenance activities, where we need to access property, we need a right of entry. So we know we need a right of entry. And it's our job to get a right of entry with the property owners to let you know exactly what's going to happen. It's on the maintenance and any construction project. Now, certainly for construction-related activities, a bigger project, these types of projects will be discussed with the administration well in advance, and we know we need to make sure that the public knows what types of construction activities we have planned. So we want to make sure that we're engaged with all the property owners and the administration.
How are you going to determine where in Indian Creek the gauges will be placed?
We have a consultant on board that is developing our master planning standards. They've got national expertise, so we've asked them for a recommendation as to the best location along Indian Creek to get a comprehensive snapshot that will help us calibrate the model. There are locations, and we also went out in the field with the U.S. Geologic Survey, who does this type of work. Not every location is a good gauging location. So they looked at locations along Indian Creek that would be best to get a true sense of flow from a USGS gauging standpoint. And I don't know, I wish I knew the exact location for that gauge, but we've identified a site that we feel is good in terms of producing good flow monitoring data, stream gauging data.
BJ Trail would be a good place.
Okay, we do have a site we've identified, and I can relay that information. We want to make sure we have a good gauging site. I mean, we're really relying on USGS, and they have national expertise in this. They'll tell us when there's a site that's not good to get that high flow data. It's critical that we get good data because we really have to project what these streams are going to do in those big rain events. And we want to minimize the error. There's always some inherent error, but we need a good gauging site so that we minimize that. Okay. Anything else?
Question.
Okay.
You identified this problem on Shepherd with the sanitary sewer for a project that you're going to work on, is that correct?
I think the road that I saw was Ledge.
Or Ledge, I'm sorry, Ledge over there. What constituted a problem? Because during all the committee meetings that we had and different consultants that we worked with, there wasn't an issue. What is causing this at this point?
Well, we did, what's causing it at this point is we're looking for some early projects that we think rate high enough in priority that should be done and aren't going to take a detailed master plan to accomplish. We did recent stream walks in and around Macedonia, and we saw this. We were not aware of this, quite honestly. But when you have an exposed, so this may be a recent phenomenon. I don't know how long this has been going on.
Why don't you point to it for
This is a sanitary sewer crossing Indian Creek at this location. We weren't aware of this from previous conversations, quite honestly. And we actually were out in the field doing something. I don't know, after we had met with some of the staff, we talked about some bridges and some maintenance problem areas. So we were out taking a look, and as we were taking a look, we saw that. You cannot let a sanitary sewer remain exposed in a street because it's going to get undermined, hit, and discharge sanitary sewage into Indian Creek, which I think we all don't want. So just from a public health standpoint and a protection of infrastructure standpoint, these are the kind of things that you really want to address before it becomes a much bigger problem. So if we don't address this, it's going to become a bigger problem. It will be more costly, and it results in sewer costs, stream costs. We just felt the timing was right and the project size was right, that we should address this now, not let this go on.
That's actually going right across the stream. How is that, what is going to be done to it? Is it going to be rerouted in some way?
We're going to have to stabilize the stream and stabilize the pipe, so I cannot answer as to the specific.
It'll still go across the stream.
There's some kind of stream restoration activity so that you stabilize that pipe and stabilize the erosion around that area. So I can't give you the exact fix, but that's why we want this project to go to design so that we can determine the appropriate fix. And we know we have to get in touch with DOES on this. This is their pipe. So the purpose of design is to develop that fix. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel. Now we're going to talk about how we calculate the fees and what types of credits are available.
Fun stuff. So, as Frank mentioned, I'm going to jump into how the stormwater fee is determined. We have two categories for our stormwater fee: single-family residential and non-single-family residential. The single-family residential are single-family dwellings around the area. Non-single family residential includes everything outside of that. So it's 4 units, anything, a single family residential is 4 units or more, so anything, or less, excuse me, 4 units or more categorized as that as non-single family residential. That also includes commercial, industrial, schools, those kind of properties. Our base rate for 2013 is $5.05 per ERU, which is the billing unit that we use across categories. That billing unit, when you look at stormwater, the residential stormwater fees, is the Tier 2 billing unit, that $5.05. As I said, the stormwater fee is based on the amount of hard surface on the property. So it's based on the roof area, the driveway, the roof of the garage, the walkway from the driveway to the house, that kind of thing for residential properties. That middle tier is the most common tier that we have in our service area, and that's the $5.05 a month or $15.15 a quarter. That is for properties that have between 2,000 and 4,000 square feet of hard surface on the property. If you are less than 2,000 square feet, you fall into the lowest tier, which is approximately $9.09 a quarter. If your hard surfaces on your property are greater than 4,000 square feet, that puts you in Tier 3, which is the $27.27 a quarter. I think it's also important to note we do have a homestead rate, which is $2.03, and you have to apologize, the fee, I inverted the 9 for the 6 there. Excuse me, it was a dyslexic moment. So that's $6.09 a quarter for the homestead rate. If you currently receive homestead for your sanitary, that homestead rate will automatically carry over to the stormwater fee, and you should see that on your bill. If you are not currently signed up for homestead, I do have some applications here for you. You do have to qualify for its age and or permanently disabled and your income, which is less than $31,000 a year. So I do have that information up here if you would like it at the end. So just as an FYI, you can apply for that homestead rate, and you do get that regardless of what tier you might fall into in terms of your impervious area if you qualify for it. So that's just a summary of the residential stormwater fees. If you're curious about your impervious area and your stormwater fee, if you have not received your bill already, or you just want to take a look at your neighbors maybe, or the commercial mall down the street, we do have a website, Fee Finder. You can go in, you type in your full address, which is the house number, the street, the city, state, and zip code. You do need to put in the full address. That'll take you to your property. It'll show you the impervious area. Highlighted here, you can kind of see in purple, and it'll tell you what your fee is. So that's Fee Finder. The website you can see down here off of our website. So if you just went to www.nursd.org, you would see it on that website, and it'll take you to find your fee. This is a very useful tool. For non-residential properties, it's still based on the amount of impervious surface, but we start using that ERU, that equivalent residential unit, which is that $5.05 per ERU. 1 ERU equals 3,000 square feet of hard surface. So as an example here, you have a property, it has 120,000 square feet of hard surface. You divide that by 3,000, and that gets you 40 ERUs. We also have a declining block program for our non-residential properties. Basically, if you have more than 10 ERUs for your property, you start to see a percentageal decrease in that $5.05 fee as you go above 10 ERUs. So it starts at a 5% decrease all the way to a 20% decrease in that fee, depending on how many ERUs you have past 10. If you would like more information on that, if you're a commercial property owner, I can certainly provide that to you at the end and give you some very specific information. But if you start for this property, they are above 10 ERUs, so we do calculate in that declining block fee. And the fee is $583.50 per quarter. If you're looking at the Find My Fee and you're if you have a commercial property, we define that declining block value as the net ERU. That's the terminology that we use. The data sources we use to determine impervious area, they come from multiple places. Aerial photography, we hand digitize around properties. We've done that for Macedonia, which is what you see on that Find My Fee with the purple impervious area. Somebody has hand digitized those for the calculation of the area. We also use county parcel data sets, so Summit County for that, and we also use the information from our billing agents.
Now, one thing I want to mention here, I forgot my presentation. So residential and non-residential properties are being billed. The district collects the revenue. 75% of that collected revenue from any given community goes to the district to do the inspection and maintenance and construction and master planning activities that I talked about in my presentation. 25% of the revenue collected in any given community goes into what we call a community cost share fund. The district keeps that fund separate by community, and as revenue comes in, 25% goes into the Macedonia Community Cost Share Fund. So this cost share fund is for local stormwater related work. And we talked about we're regional and we have local communities maintain responsibility. So we will have a fund for local stormwater related work. It's a grant reimbursement type program where the community submits an application for a project, we approve, they undertake the project, submit invoices over time for reimbursement. And it's for a variety of good stormwater related work. If it's for a project that's going to move a problem to your neighbor, we might have a discussion about that. But for the most part, there's a lot of good projects out there. And so I wanted to mention that to you. That, if we collected 100% of the revenue in Macedonia, you're looking at a couple $100,000, $200,000, a little in excess of that in local community cost share. So that's money that you can use for local work. And I just want to make sure you knew that. Now, we're not going to collect 100%. It's just inherent in billing. You never collect 100%. So we'll see what that looks like. But monthly, we do get reports on revenue coming in, revenue going into each of the individual cost share accounts. And stay in contact with Rachel about that, because she'll be the one working with you on the applications, approvals, and keeping track of what your cost share account looks like.
So that was a brief overview of the stormwater fees. Just to recap, the fees are based on the amount of hard surface you have on your property. We have 3 categories for residential properties based on that hard surface. Non-residential, we use what's called the equivalent residential unit. 1 ERU equals 3,000 square feet. So that's just a brief, quick overview of the billing. If you have specific questions about your property, I'd be willing to talk. I'm happy to talk to you afterwards about that if you have a specific question. Also, just as before I forget, if you picked up one of the individual residential property credit manuals that are in the back, if you haven't, please feel free to pick one up. My name, phone number, and email are on the back of the credit manual, so you can get in contact with me if you have questions after this evening on other related topics related to stormwater, on anything that we presented tonight. We would be happy to talk with you about that. So just as FYI, that is back there on that credit application. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We've talked about the fee. We also have a fee credit program, and so this program is focused on encouraging good practices. We want to provide you a credit for doing stormwater management on your property. We have the fee credit program split up into 4 major categories. I'm going to focus on the individual residential property credits this evening. This is a flat 25% credit that you can get towards your residential fee for doing certain stormwater control measures, as we call them, on your property. We also have 3 other categories. The stormwater quality and quantity credits tend to be more focused on the non-residential properties, but do have some connection for residents if they live in a development with a homeowners association and have stormwater detention ponds or something along those lines that accept the stormwater from their downspouts on their property. We also have an education credit, which is specifically focused on the schools in our service area, they can apply for that 25% credit based on the education, stormwater education that they do for their students. So like I said, I want to focus tonight on the individual residential property credit. There are 5 practices, stormwater control measures, that we have focused on for the individual residential property credit. The first one is rain gardens, and I'm going to go into some detail on each one of these. On-site stormwater storage, which is just a fancy name for rain barrels and cisterns. Vegetated filter strips, which is basically a disconnected downspout opening up onto your yard. Impervious surface reduction, and pervious pavement. All of these things that I've described here, as you can see, and you'll see on all of the slides, if you are implementing or have implemented, you need to make sure you're in compliance with your community standards for any of these. And I'll go into some information on that. So, rain gardens. What is a rain garden? A rain garden is basically a landscape area that you have in your yard that is depressed. So it's basically accepts water from a downspout from your roof. For our stormwater control measures for our program, it's controlling 25% of your roof area. So you take 1 or 2 downspouts to this depressed landscaping area. The water comes into this area and it soaks into the ground, or the plants use it. So it's a functional landscaping that you can have in your yard. We do have a rain garden manual for homeowners. Unfortunately, we do not have copies of the manual. You can get it online. If you are not web savvy and you don't want to bother with that, you can certainly give me a call and I would be happy to print that out for you. It is referenced on page 4 of the credit manual. There's a website link to that, to our website. And it basically just tells you how, if you haven't built one before, how to size it, where is the best place to put it, what type of plants should you put in it. Tend to focus on plants in these rain gardens because they do get water, plants that like to be wet when it's wet, obviously when it's raining because they're going to get some water, and then plants that like to be dry when it's dry so that you don't have to put a lot of effort into maintaining it. So that's just the basics of a rain garden. As I said, you can get credit for having a rain garden at 25% credit, and the rain garden should drain 25% of the roof area for the property, or for the home, excuse me. On-site storage, rain barrels, this is one of our more popular credit opportunities. 4 rain barrels, you can see here, a woman standing next to her rain barrel that's connected to her downspout on the side of the house in the back. To get a credit for rain barrels, you need to drain 50% of the property's roof area to a rain barrel. So that usually constitutes more than 1 rain barrel for a property. This is something, again, as well, you want to check with your community if they have any specific requirements. A lot of times, you want to keep them away from the front yards. You want to put them on the side of the house, away from your neighbor property line. You want to kind of make them a consistent color, no hot pink, no lime green, something that kind of works with your home or the back of the house. A lot of times you want to place them in areas where you have access to the landscaping you'd like to water. They are an excellent source of water for landscaping. They reduce your water bills because you're not using the water out of the spigot to water your vegetables or your garden. You're using that rain barrel water. So how that rain barrel works, the water comes down the downspout and it's diverted into the rain barrel through one of these. This is called a diverter. So this piece, you cut your downspout in half, you slide this in here. The water comes down the downspout through this spigot here to the hose, and the hose is connected to the rain barrel. When the rain barrel gets full, the water fills up into the hose, comes back in here, and then it directly goes back down into the downspout. So it's a way that you can receive a 25% credit for doing stormwater management and not have to disconnect your downspouts. So it provides you with the opportunity for a water source for your plants and also provides a stormwater benefit. The other option is we do have a lot of people in this area that have cisterns. So you can get a credit for a cistern. Again, it's the same 50% of the roof area, which is usually not a problem when you have a cistern. And it has to drain during, a 1-inch rainstorm. There's some basic math in here to help with that calculation. If you have a cistern and you need some assistance with that, I'd be happy to walk you through any of the calculations. But that's kind of the general. This is one of our more popular, the rain barrels is one of the more popular. Summit County Stormwater Conservation District, I should mention, has rain barrels for sale. You can purchase them from them. They sometimes have rain barrel workshops where they help you put together the rain barrels, and they have information on how you can make one yourself. You do want to make sure if you do undertake it, a weekend warrior project, to do some rain barrels, that they do stay covered. It's called a closed system. You don't want to leave it uncovered because we know you have some issues with mosquitoes. So more often than not, the rain barrels that you see and then you get from Stormwater Conservation District or your local garden center have taken that all into consideration. So, impervious surface reduction. If you remove 500 square feet or more from your home area, say you take down a shed, you remove a piece of your driveway, we want to give you credit for that. Now, you will get credit for that if you call us and tell us, and that could possibly lower you put you in a lower tier because you've reduced the impervious area. However, if it doesn't move you into a lower tier, we still want to provide you with that credit for reducing the impervious surface on your property, that hard surface, because having more green space areas allows for more infiltration. So this is an option as well. Pervious pavement, this is 1,000 square feet of pervious pavement or more. Pervious pavement is a specific engineered type of practice. It's usually not the most popular for residential, but we do have some people who have implemented it. Usually consists of pavers that are designed specifically they have spaces between their joints to allow water to move through, and then there's at least a 10-inch stone reservoir underneath those pavers. So there's a system underneath those pavers that you don't typically see in a normal paver situation. So this is a very specific type of installation in pavement. So like I said, it's not as popular on the residential side because it can be expensive, but you see it a lot more in commercial installations. One of the easiest and most popular outside of the rain barrel is its vegetated filter strip, which is basically a fancy way of saying a disconnected downspout into your grass area of your yard or the wooded area in your yard. This, again, as well, 50% of your property roof area needs to drain to what we call a vegetated filter strip. And that strip needs to be at least 50 feet long. So in terms of what that looks like, it's where that you disconnect and the water comes out of your disconnected pipe. You need to have at least 50 feet of vegetation in front of that. We want to make sure there's some distance for that water to slow down and soak into the ground. That 50 feet cannot be on your neighbor's property. You don't want it near the foundation of your house. There are certain things you need to comply with if you do this, specifically with the city codes. I know right now they are not currently allowing for downspout disconnection, but they're in the process of updating their codes to allow it with approval from the building commissioner. So that's something to look at. I think in the next couple months they'll be doing that as well. As I said, this is something that's probably the simplest. You usually have to cut it off. If you haven't done it, you cut it off, you plug up the ground, what was going into the ground. You have an elbow, a splash block. Like I said, you want to make sure you're not sending water to your neighbors. We don't want to cause problems there specifically. And we want to make sure you direct it away from the foundation of your home because you don't want to create any new problems for yourself. In a situation like this where you have a lot of acreage, it's definitely an option, as well as the rain barrels. So that's kind of a brief over of the different credits for residential properties. If you have any of that on your property or you're looking to do it and you want to submit for a credit, this is what you use, that credit application and manual that's in the back. It explains each of those items that I just went through, as well as it has the application, as I said, starting on page 7. So you want to complete all the information that's in there. A sketch of your home, where your downspouts are, just from looking down if you were a bird. So just a quick outline, no Picassos, just a general idea of what's going on your property. More importantly, we want to make sure that you provide us photos with what you have done, because that's where we verify what's happening on the property. So this is something, in the first year of the program, the residential credits, all of our credits are retroactively applied. So say you submit in May, we approve you in May, you see the credit in June, you will actually also see a credit towards any bills that you have paid previously all the way back to January. So during the first year of the program, you will see 100% credit for all of the entire year of bills, even if you submit in November and we approve you in November. Now that does end come January 1st, 2014, but for this first year we have allowed that because we know we would see a lot of influx of credits, and we wanted to be able to give ourselves time to review as well as provide you with the credits that you have and deserve. So one of the issues that we have a lot of is people have rain barrels, but as you should do with rain barrels, they have taken them off in the winter. So, they're waiting to spring before when they reattach their rain barrels so they can submit us the credit application. So that's the individual residential property credits. I want to just briefly go into a couple of the others in case we have any non-residential property owners here. We do have a quantity credit. Quantity credit is split into two pieces. Per the name of it, it's all about controlling the volume of water from a property. We have a credit that focuses on the reduction of peak flow, which basically means holding the water back and slowly releasing it over time. This is something you might have in a homeowners association, a development that has a retention pond, or any new commercial development. We also have a credit based on if you reduce the volume of water coming from the property. So these are very incrementally depending